Hi, my name is Sarah Storr. I'm the instruction librarian at Rio Salado College. If you're like me, you use Google all of the time to find information. When you're using internet sources, whether it's for class or for personal knowledge, you need to make sure you know how to figure out if a site you're looking at is trustworthy and credible. Here's what I recommend keeping in mind as you search: the ABCDs of evaluating your sources. A is for authority. When you find a source of information on a topic, before you do anything, including actually reading the information closely, figure out who the author is and what makes that person someone you should trust when it comes to the information you're looking for. The website may give you information about the author's background, but you should also immediately open another browser or another window and do a Google search for the author's name to see what you can find out about that person. In addition to the author's name and credentials, figure out which organization is publishing the info or which website. Look for things like an about page, and then also search for the organization using Google or another search engine to see what other sources are saying about them. Once you know who the author is or what organization is responsible for the information and you think they seem trustworthy, it's time to actually start reading the information you found. The B in our ABCDs is looking for bias. That is the purpose of the information or the point of view of the author. That's one of the reasons you need to know who the author is of a piece of information. When you know who they are, you can better understand what biases they bring to the table. For instance, if I'm researching gun control and I find an article from the NRA, I'll first look up who the NRA is. I find that the NRA doesn't support gun control legislation. And then when I look at my article more closely, I can see that it aligns with that belief and doesn't present information that speaks to the other sides of the gun control debate. You can totally use biased sources, but you need to recognize that they're biased so that you can make sure to round out your knowledge on a topic with other sources that present all sides of an issue so that you can be objective. Bias isn't just about who an author is, it's also about the purpose of the information. If I find a piece of information online, I need to know why it's there. Was it created to educate me about a topic? Is it published on a site that's trying to sell me something, or where money is exchanging hands at some point, either through ad revenue or trying to get me to buy something directly? Following the money is important when it comes to determining what biases might exist and how they may be impacting the information that you're reading. The domain name of a URL can also help you determine which biases may be present. Moving on to the letter C, we want to verify that the information presented is actually correct or accurate. If a piece of information cites other sources or links to outside info, go visit those sources to make sure they're legit. If a piece of information is accurate, you should also be able to fact check the info and find other sources that back it up. Again, Google or your preferred search engine is a great tool to turn to. You can also use sites like PolitiFact or Snopes to help you verify claims that you're unsure of. If you want to check that an image hasn't been photoshopped, you can conduct a reverse image search using Google or TinEye to see where the image originated. I also like to search for a concept with the word fake added to my search to help me determine if something is correct or not. Last up, letter D. This one's pretty easy. Make sure you know the date or when something was published. It doesn't take long for information to become outdated or obsolete. Knowing when something was published helps you figure out if it's current enough for your purposes. For instance, if you want to see a movie this weekend, it doesn't help to have last week's showtimes. If you're writing about World War II, though, it may not be as important for you to have information published this month. Just make sure you know when something was published so that you can decide if it works for your needs. Don't forget, just because a source appears at the top of your Google results doesn't mean that it's the best source or an accurate source. Ads are often linked at the top of a Google results page. Google also uses a secret and proprietary algorithm that decides which results you'll see when you look for information. You can't just be a passive participant when it comes to determining if a source is credible. Open another tab, open another browser window, verify the information, and don't just blindly trust what you find online. If you're having trouble determining if a source is credible, you've got 24/7 library support available to you via our Ask a Librarian chat service. You can access Ask a Librarian from Rio Learn, the library homepage, or from our databases. We're happy to help.